Hello, my dear viewers. I am Dr. Suyogavardhan DM, Assistant Professor, Sri Venkataramana Swami College, Bantwal, Dakshina Kannada. Now I am going to discuss about an interesting topic which is a part of syllabus prescribed by Mangalore University syllabus for final year BSc students 6th semester in paper 8 unit 3, that is petroleum and petrochemicals. If we just glance the present situation, the whole nation has been completely locked down since from nearly 1.5 months. No commercial activities, no parties, no functions, nothing. All of us have been strictly asked to stay home and stay safe. Except very few activities like hospitals, police, medicines, many all other are completely closed. At this moment, just think of one more activity which has been never stopped for not even one day, that is the supply of petroleum products. We have never stopped using our vehicles to bring at least minimum requirements, or the supply of LPG has never been stopped in these days. This tells us clearly how much the petroleum and petrochemicals are very important topic and as well as very interesting study material, and it is necessary to understand the concepts behind this topic. Now let us understand what is petroleum and where it is found, how it is formed, how we are going to extract it, whether we are going to get the petrol in a purified form or is there any necessary to refine it, and what are its compositions and how do we classify them. Like this, many aspects regarding petroleum and petrochemicals will be discussed in one by one manner. So petroleum means, as the name itself says, petro means rock and oleum means oil. Petroleum is a dark greenish brown viscous oily liquid found deep in Earth's crust below several thousand feet. The oil is usually found floating upon a layer of brine and has a layer of gas on top of it. We all have seen petrol. So it looks in slightly blue color, whereas the pure petrol which will be extracted under the earth's crust will appear in dark greenish brown viscous color. So how we are going to extract crude oil or petroleum? So here the figure what I am displaying on this slide tells us the clear picture how we are going to extract or mine the crude oil or petroleum. So mining of crude oil or petroleum is done by drilling holes in the earth's crust and sinking pipes up to the oil bearing porous rocks. Just like how we are going to dig to get the water, so in the same manner we have to drill the pipes, we have to drill and insert the pipes beneath deep in the earth's crust till where we are going to get the oil bearing porous rocks. Further, the crude oil usually gushes out itself due to hydrostatic pressure of natural gas. Otherwise, it may be mechanically pumped up by using pump or airlift pump. The airlift pump consists of two coaxial pipes lowered into the base of oil bed. Compressed air is forced through the outer pipe, then oil comes out through the inner pipe as shown in this figure. So here in this figure, so this is the outer compressed air where it is going to be passed. When the air is forced inside this outer pipe, so automatically, so the petroleum which is present here, so this will gushes out from the inner pipe and we are going to collect it here as crude oil or petroleum. So in this way we are going to do mining of crude oil and we are going to uplift it by using a airlift pump. What are the compositions or constituents of petroleum? So petroleum mainly consists of hydrocarbons. They may be straight chain paraffins or cycloparaffins or naphthalene, olefins and aromatics. Along with this, small amount of organic compounds are also present like nitrogen, oxygen and sulfur. So the average composition of crude oil is carbon will be of 79 to 87 percentage and hydrogen will be of 11 to 14 percentage and sulfur will be in very minute percentage, that is 0.1 to 3.5 percentage, and nitrogen plus oxygen will be little less compared to all other, that is sulfur and carbon and hydrogen. So carbon will be a major content which will be of nearly 79 to 87 percentage. Till recently, we knew petroleum as a source of fuels with which we can run our vehicles. Today, petroleum is also an important raw material for chemical industry. Huge quantities of chemicals known as petrochemicals are now made out of crude petroleum. Now let us see how they are classified. So based on the compositions or the constituents present in the crude oil or petroleum, we are going to classify them into three different types. They are, the first one is paraffinic base type crude. That means it mainly composed of the saturated hydrocarbons from CH4 to C35H72 and a little of the naphthalenes and aromatics. The hydrocarbons from C18H38 to C35H72 are semi-solids which are also called as waxes. The second class of classification is asphaltic base type crude. It contains mainly cycloparaffins or naphthalenes with smaller amount of paraffins and aromatic hydrocarbons. And the third type of classification is mixed base type crude. That means, so it contains both paraffinic and asphaltic hydrocarbons and are generally rich in semi-solid waxes. Next is petroleum refining. So the crude oil or the petroleum which is going to be mined under the earth's crust will be composed of many other fuels or many other substituted products. So it has to be refined before we are going to use it. So the crude petroleum has to be processed or refined before being put to commercial use. The process of separating crude oil into various useful fractions by fractional distillation and finally converting into desired specific product is called refining of crude oil. The plants set up for the purpose are called as oil refineries. The refining of petroleum or crude oil involves the following steps. Step 1. Separation of water by Cottrell's process. So in this process, the crude oil obtained from the oil well is an stable emulsion of oil and salt water. So water will be present along with the oil. So some amount of water will also be present in the crude oil which is extracted under the earth's crust. So that water has to be removed. So the removal of water is carried out by Cottrell's process. So what we are going to do in this process? So the separation of oil from water will be done by allowing this extracted oil plus water with two charged electrodes. So we are going to insert two highly charged electrodes inside this stable emulsion of oil and salt water. So what happens then? The colloidal water droplets will coalesce to form large drops of water which separate out from the crude oil. In step 2, removal of harmful sulfur compounds has to be done. The crude oil is treated with copper oxide. The solid copper sulfide formed is removed by filtration. And next, the third step is fractional distillation. The crude petroleum is heated to about 400 degrees centigrade in coiled pipes kept in a gas heated furnace. So here we can observe how the fractional distillation will be done. All volatile components are evaporated. When the crude petroleum is heated to about 400 degrees centigrade, so what happens is the volatile compounds, that means those who can easily get evaporated at normal temperatures, will get evaporated, leaving behind the residue of coke or asphalt. The vapors obtained are then admitted into a specially designed fractionating column. So this is what is called as a fractionated column. So from here we are going to pass the crude oil inside this fractionating column. So as the vapors go up, so this fractionating column will be maintained at 400 degrees centigrade. So when the crude oil enters here, so it will get vaporized. As the vapors go up, they become gradually cooler and fractional condensation takes place at different heights of fractionating column. Higher boiling fraction condenses first, while the lower boiling fractions condenses turn by turn at a definite temperature range. So here we can observe what will be the temperature in all these stages. So here in the down, so the temperature will be around 600 degrees centigrade. As it goes on, so the temperature will be decreased. So here the vapors which goes up, they will get condensed and the vapors will be converted into gases as they go up. So the each fraction obtained will be a mixture of different hydrocarbons and has certain characteristics which render them useful for definite purposes. The different important fractions obtained by fractional distillation of crude oil is clearly shown in this picture. So here the highly volatile vapors, so which will have a 20 degrees centigrade of boiling point, so they will be used as LPG, that is liquefied petroleum gas. And at 70 degrees centigrade, so the naphthalene will be evolved or liberated, so that will be used as chemicals. And at 120 degrees centigrade, so the gasoline, what exactly is called as petrol, is obtained. So this will be used in vehicles. And at 170 degrees centigrade, will get kerosene and paraffin oil, so which is used in jet fuel and also in paraffin for heating purposes. And next at 270 degrees centigrade, diesel oil is obtained. And next is lubricating oils or waxes and polishers. And next is at 600 degrees centigrade, we are going to get fuel oil, that is fuels for ships and industrial processes. And the last thing is residue. So this residue will be used for the construction of roads and also for the construction of roofs in the houses. So these are the different classes of fractions, important fractions, which we are going to get by fractional distillation of crude oil. So the same thing I have tabulated here. at different ranges of temperature, what and all the products we are going to get, that is petroleum ether or gasoline or naphtha or solvent spirit, kerosene or diesel fuel, heavy oil, like this. At different temperature range we are going to get different products or important fractions of crude oil or petroleum. So, in this we can also clearly observe the approximate composition of carbon and hydrogen here, that is hydrocarbons. So, nearly carbon which is from C1 to C30 will be the range of approximate composition of carbon that will be extracted during the fractional distillation of crude oil and petroleum. Next, further, the heavy oil which is obtained during the fractional distillation of petroleum can be refractionated further, which gives various different fractions like lubricating oil, which is used as lubricant, and petroleum jelly, which is also used as lubricant and in cosmetic medicines, grease as lubricant, and paraffin waxes in candles, boot polishes, wax paper and tarpaulin clothes. So, these are some other fractions which are extracted by heavy oil. Above 400 degrees centigrade, a residue is obtained which may be either asphaltic or petroleum coke, which has composition above C30. Asphaltic is used in waterproofing of roofs and road making. The petroleum coke is used as a fuel and in molding or light rods. It is also used in protective paints. Next is, what is meant by cracking? So, before understanding what is meant by cracking, so the various petroleum products given in this table need to be purified prior to use. The purification is essential for these reasons. First one is removal of undesirable odors in them. Second is render them stable to air oxidation, and the third reason is free them from corrosive constituents. So, these are the main 3 points or the reasons why we have to do purification before using the heavy oil. So, the actual process of purification differ from fraction to fraction, and also on the end of the use the purification is must needed. Say for example, the gasoline or petroleum which we are using for as a motor fuel. So, it has to be washed with sulfuric acid to remove polyethylenes and also mercaptans. This is because if there are the polyethylenes and mercaptans are present, so this will cause offensive odor. For this purpose we have to remove it, and also the traces of sulfur which will be present in petrol, that will render for the corrosiveness to the engine parts. The complete removal of sulfur compounds in gasoline is ensured by treating it with sodium plumbide or by passing vapor of gasoline over alumina or silica at about 450 degrees centigrade under pressure. What is meant by cracking? The gasoline or petrol has the largest demand as motor fuel, but the yield of this fraction is only 20% of the crude. The quality of straight run petrol is not high. It has to be properly blended. To overcome these difficulties, the middle and heavy oil fractions are cracked to get petrol. So, the cracking is defined as the process of breaking down the less volatile higher hydrocarbons from petroleum into different types of more volatile lower hydrocarbons is called as cracking. So, here in this reaction if we observe, so here the C10H22 hydrocarbon in high temperature and high pressure, so it has been converted into lower hydrocarbons which will be more volatile compared to this C10H22. In the same way, N-decane in the presence of high temperature and high pressure. So this will be converted into N-pentane and N-pentene, so which will have a more volatile nature. So the petrol obtained by cracking has far better characteristics than the straight run petrol. That means straight run petrol is the petrol which has been obtained during the fractional distillation, whereas the petrol which has been prepared or synthesized by the process of cracking, so that will have a far better characteristic than the straight run petrol. So the two methods for cracking are thermal cracking and catalytic cracking. So the thermal cracking may be carried out in the vapor phase and also in liquid phase. What is meant by vapor phase thermal cracking? So in this method, the cracking oil is first vaporized and then cracked at about 600 to 650 degrees centigrade under a low pressure of 10 to 20 kg per square centimeter. It requires less time than the liquid phase cracking. The petrol obtained has better anti-knock properties. However, the petrol obtained by this method has poor stability than the petrol obtained by liquid phase cracking. This method is applicable only to those oils which can be vaporized. And the next method is liquid phase thermal cracking. So in this method, the heavy oil stock is cracked at a suitable temperature, that is, the temperature range will be between 475 to 530 degrees centigrade and at pressure 100 kg per square centimeter. The cracked product are then separated in a fractionating column. So the yield is about 50 to 60% and octane rating of the petrol is 65 to 70. And the next method of cracking is catalytic cracking. The yield and quality of petrol obtained by cracking can be greatly improved by using a suitable catalyst like aluminum silicate, that is Al2SiO3 thrice, or alumina Al2O3. There are two methods in catalytic cracking. The first one is fixed bed catalytic cracking and the second is moving bed catalytic cracking. Now let us see how we are going to perform cracking by using fixed bed catalytic cracking method. So here I am displaying a picture. So here the cracking furnace consists of the following towers which has been shown in the figure. The first one is preheater, second is catalytic chamber, third is fractionating column, fourth is cooler and fifth is collector. So these are the different parts which are present in this fixed bed catalytic cracking. The preheater is maintained at mixed with zirconium oxide is kept in different shelves as shown in the figure. So here this is the preheater. So in this preheater it is maintained at mixed with zirconium oxide in different shelves as shown here. This is the catalytic chamber. The catalyst, artificial clay mixed with zirconium oxide, is kept in different shelves as shown here. The catalyst is also maintained at 425 to 450 degrees centigrade. So preheater is also maintained in this temperature range and the catalyst chamber is also maintained at this temperature, that is 425 to 450 degree centigrade. So how we are going to crack the crude oil by using this method? So here the heavy oil vapors are passed into a preheater and heated to cracking temperature, that is 425 to 450 degree centigrade. The preheated vapors are then forced through a catalytic chamber which is also maintained at cracking temperature. During their passage through the catalyst tower, about 40% of the charge is converted into gasoline and 2 to 4% of carbon is formed. The carbon gets absorbed on the catalyst surface. The cracked vapors are then passed through the fractionating column. So this is what is called as fractionating column, where heavy oil fractions condense. So here the vapors which are passed from catalyst chamber, so they are going to get condensed. The uncondensed vapors are then through a cooler it is passed. So this is the cooler, where some of the gases are condensed along with petrol. The uncondensed gases will move on. The gasoline containing some dissolved gases is then sent to a stabilizer. So this is what is called stabilizer, where dissolved gases are removed and pure petrol is obtained. So here we are going to get pure petrol. So the gasoline where we are seeing the name or the outlet where the gasoline is coming, so there we are going to get the pure petrol. So the catalyst which has been settled down here, that catalyst after 8 to 10 hours it will stop functioning due to the deposition of black layer of carbon. The catalyst is reactivated by burning of the deposited carbon. During the reactivation, the preheated vapors of heavy oil are directed through another catalyst chamber. The next method is moving bed catalytic cracking. The moving bed catalytic cracking furnace consists of the following parts. The first one is catalyst regenerator, reactor, fractionating column, cooler and stabilizer. So in catalyst generator, it is maintained at 600 degree centigrade at the top. There is separator called cyclone. So this is the catalyst generator. So here we can observe a separator, what is called as cyclone, which permits only gases to pass out by holding back catalyst particles. So here it acts as a filter. So it will separate the gases from the catalyst particles. And this is what is called as reactor. So this reactor will act as, when cracking of heavy oil takes place, at the top there is a centrifugal separator which is called as cyclone, which allows only the cracked oil vapors to pass on and retains the catalyst particles in the reactor itself. Now let us see the process. The solid catalyst is very finely powdered so that it behaves almost as fluid, which can be circulated in gas stream. So here it has to be circulated in the form of gas stream. The vapors of heavy oil mixed with fluidized catalyst is forced up into a large reactor. The cracking of the heavier molecules into lighter molecules occur in the reactor. So here, the cracking takes place. The cracked vapors passes on to the fractionating column. So this is what is called a fractionating column through cyclone, and the catalyst powder is retained in the reactor itself. The catalyst particles gradually becomes heavier due to coating with carbon and settle to the bottom. When cracked vapors pass through fractionating column, uncracked heavy oil fraction condenses and it gets separated. The vapors are then led through a cooler. So here cooler will be present. Some of the gases are condensed along with gasoline. The uncondensed gases move on in the same way how we saw in the previous method, that is fixed bed method. The gasoline containing some dissolved gases is then sent into the stabilizer. The dissolved gases are then collected in this outlet. So this is the outlet. So here we are going to collect the pure petroleum. Next is about synthetic petrol. The ever increasing demand for petrol and the limited sources available for the supply of it has stimulated attempts to synthesize petrol from alternative sources. So for the synthesis of petrol also two processes are employed. That is, the first one is Burgess process and the second one is Fischer-Tropsch process. Let us briefly see what exactly it means. Burgess process. In this process, the chemical plant consists of following units, that is mixer, converter, condenser and fractionating column. So, in this, finely powdered low ash coal is mixed with the catalyst tin or nickel oleate and made paste with heavy oil in the mixer. So, this is the mixer. In this mixer, so we are going to mix the coal, that is low ash coal, along with the catalyst tin or nickel oleate. The whole mass is heated with hydrogen at 450 degrees centigrade under the pressure of 200 to 250 atmospheric pressure for about 1.5 hours in the converter. So, this is what is called as converter. So, to this paste, so the hydrogen is passed and the hydrogen will get mixed with this paste and this will be contained in this converter, and this converter will be in 450 degrees centigrade at an atmospheric pressure of 200 to 250 for about 1.5 hours. The hydrogen combines with coal to form saturated hydrocarbons. They decompose at prevailing temperature and pressure to yield low boiling liquid hydrocarbons which vaporizes. The issuing gases are then led to condenser where a liquid resembling crude oil is obtained. The crude oil is then passed into fractionating column. So, this is the fractionating column where it is divided into 3 fractions, that is, one is gasoline and middle oil and heavy oil. The middle oil is hydrogenated in vapor phase in presence of solid catalyst to yield more gasoline. The heavy oil is used again for making paste with fresh coal dust and catalyst. The next process of synthesizing petrol is Fischer-Tropsch process. In this method, petrol is synthesized from water gas and hydrogen in the presence of a catalyst. The catalyst is a mixture of 100 parts of cobalt, 5 parts of thoria, 8 parts magnesia and 200 parts Kieselguhr maintained at 200 to 300 degrees centigrade temperature and 5 to 25 atmospheric pressure. So, here the n moles of carbon monoxide will react with 2n plus 1 moles of hydrogen and thereby it is going to form CnH2n plus 2 plus n moles of water. And if we use n moles of carbon monoxide plus 2n moles of hydrogen, so we are going to get CnH2n with the removal of n moles of water molecules. So, this composition of carbon monoxide and hydrogen will be called as synthetic petroleum. The synthetic petroleum, what has been obtained, is then distilled in the usual manner to get petrol, kerosene oil, lubricating oil and paraffin wax. The plant which is used for the synthesis of petrol by Fischer-Tropsch method consists of purification unit, compressor, catalyst chamber, cooler, fractionating column and cracking unit. So, first what we have to do is, so the water gas has to be prepared. So, to prepare the water gas, so we are going to react the red hot coke with steam. We are going to get water gas, that is the mixture of carbon monoxide and hydrogen. So, the water gas is mixed with half of its volume of hydrogen, so that the gaseous mixture consists of carbon monoxide and hydrogen in the ratio 1:2. The gas mixture is purified by passing through first tower to remove hydrogen sulfide and then through second unit to remove organic sulfur compounds. So, these are the two purification units. So, in these two purification units, in the first unit what happens is, So here the removal of hydrogen sulfide takes place, and in the second purification unit we are going to remove organic sulfur compounds. So once after it is removed, so the purified gas mixture is compressed in the compressor. So this is the compressor. So this compressor is maintained at 5 to 25 atmospheric pressure and then led through catalyst chamber, and this is the catalyst chamber maintained at about 200 to 300 degrees centigrade. A mixture of saturated and unsaturated hydrocarbons are formed, as explained earlier in the previous method how we saw. So in the same way the mixture of saturated and unsaturated hydrocarbons are going to be formed. This reaction is exothermic, so outcoming hot gaseous mixture is led to the cooler. So this is the cooler where a liquid resembling crude oil or petroleum is obtained. So further it is passed to the fractionating column, and the petrol and high boiling heavy oils are obtained. The heavy oil is subjected to cracking to get more petrol. So in this way these are the two methods which are employed to synthesize the petrol. So the increasing demand always leads for the alternative ways to synthesize petrol. So these are the two methods which are employed to synthesize it. And the next important topic is knocking. The petrol and diesel are largely used in internal combustion engines. So what is meant by internal combustion engines? We all have seen it, but right now we would have not come into our mind what exactly it means. There are two kinds of internal combustion engines which are currently in practice. The first one is the spark ignition gasoline engine, and the second one is the compression ignition diesel engine. Most of these combustion engines are 4-stroke cycle engines. That means, so 4 piston strokes are needed to complete a cycle. Now just you imagine the engine which has been present in our vehicles, that is two-wheelers. So in two-wheelers also the spark ignition gasoline engine is present. So the fuel consisting petrol vapors and air is compressed and burnt within the cylinder of the engine. So this is what is going to take place inside the engine, which we can see in our two-wheelers. The initiation of combustion reaction takes place by a spark in the cylinder. After the initiation of the combustion reaction, the flame should spread rapidly and smoothly through the gaseous mixture. Thereby, the expanding gas drive the piston down the cylinder. So this is the process or the mechanism what exactly will take place inside internal combustion engine. So here we can define a term, important term, that is compression ratio or critical compression. The ratio of the gaseous volume in the cylinder at the end of the suction minus stroke to the piston is known as the compression ratio or critical compression. In other words, the compression ratio is the ratio of the volume of the cylinder and the combustion chamber when the piston is at the bottom, and the volume of the combustion chamber when the piston is at the top. The efficiency of an internal combustion engine increases with the increase in compression ratio. As the compression ratio increases, so the efficiency of the engine will also increase. The compression ratio depends on the nature of constituents present in the petrol used. In certain circumstances, due to the presence of some constituents in the petrol used, the rate of oxidation becomes very high that the last portion of the fuel air mixture gets ignited instantaneously, producing a explosive violent jerk against the piston. This is known as knocking, and it decreases the efficiency of the engine. So sometimes it happens in our two-wheelers also. If we don't put the gear in a proper way, or if we do some mistakes in releasing the clutch and increasing the accelerator, suddenly we will get a violent jerk in the bike. So what happens at that time? The bike will get stopped and it takes so much of time to get restarted again. Self will not work out and we have to kick it out for more than 5 to 6 times, and once after that it will start. So that is what is called as knocking. So that will decrease the efficiency of the engine. What is the chemical structure of knocking? The knocking property of petrol depends on the chemical structure of its constituents. That means the composition which has been present in that petrol, whether it has got a straight chained structure, that is hydrocarbon, or whether it has branched chain paraffin structure, or do it contains olefins or cycloparaffins or aromatics. Likewise, it depends upon the constituents which is present in the petrol. The tendency of fuel constituents to knock is in the following order. That means straight chain paraffins will have higher knocking property than the branched chain paraffins, and branched chain paraffins will have higher knocking property than the olefins. Olefins will have higher than the cycloparaffins, and cycloparaffins will have higher knocking property than the aromatics. Thus, aromatic constituents have least knocking property and straight chain paraffins have highest knocking property. This is what the chemical structure of the constituent explains about. The constituent which is present in the petrol explains about. The comparison is to be made with compounds containing same carbon chain length. As the chain length increases, knocking property of alkane increases. So here in the structures what I am displaying here, we can clearly understand it. The branched chain alkanes, so here the isooctane or 2,2,4-trimethyl-pentane is a branched chain alkane. So this has got lower knocking property than the straight chain alkane containing same numbered carbon atoms. So here 8 carbon atoms are present, and in this also 8 carbon atoms are present. Even though N-octane has higher knocking than the isooctane, that is because N-octane is a straight chained hydrocarbon. So that is why the knocking property will be higher for N-octane compared to the isooctane. The compression ratio at which knocking results depend upon the nature of fuel. It is therefore important to determine the so-called anti-knock value of a fuel. The anti-knock value of petrol is expressed in terms of octane rating or octane number, while the cetane rating or cetane number is used to rate the diesel fuel. At this stage, I am going to stop here. In my next presentation, we'll discuss about what is meant by octane rating or octane number, and what is leaded and unleaded petrol, and what are the advantages of it, and what is meant by petrochemicals and what are its applications. Thank you for your patience. I thank one and all.